صباح الخير من أمريكا. Buenos dias. Hello. All right, so today we're going to talk about balancing just fun activities and schoolwork. So if you are joining the chat or joining the conversation, hello, say hello in the chat. And if you have any questions, feel free to, as always, type those in as I'm talking or if I'm going too fast. Happy Friday. So let's just get started. So have you ever seen an American movie about college in the US and it looks like, hello, thank you for joining. It looks like all the students do is party in the movie. It's like, when do they have time for studying or school, right? Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Just put any questions in the comments. Oh my God, my hair looks so bad. Ahlan wa sahlan, thank you. Okay. So, in the movies, I'm doing great, thank you. كيف حالك؟ كيف يومك في السعودية? Oh, it's Friday night over there, right? And here it is noon, so the middle of the day. I'm near Washington, D.C., so on the East Coast of the United States. So anyway, if we're talking about like a movie about college that maybe you have seen, an American movie where it looks like all the characters or the students in the movie are doing is partying. So it's like, is that a real representation of what college is like here or not? When do they have time to study? If you come to the United States, how are you going to have time to study and have fun, make friends, do all that at the same time, right? Alhamdulillah. Oh, awesome. Alhamdulillah. Kul shay tamam, sah? So let's just be real about movies. And I've heard a lot of students have asked me questions like, is that really what it's like to be a college student in the United States? Because American movies are very pervasive throughout the world. So lots of people from all over the world have seen American movies, and a lot of them portray college in a certain way that may not necessarily be completely accurate. They're exaggerated or not fully realistic, but I will say some of it can be true to an extent, and you'll have to figure that out when you get here. Shukran jiddan. I hope so. I've been trying. So finding a balance between studying and extracurricular activities. Extracurricular means a student activity outside of a normal college class. For example, a sports team or music or clubs. It can be difficult for some students to find a balance, and it can literally determine if you pass your classes and graduate college if your scale is too far tipped on the side of fun activities versus studying. Do you understand? So I get what it's like to be, a college student, and you graduate high school, you're on your own. For the first time, you're free of your parents' rules or anyone telling you what to do or telling you that you have to study. Mohammed, I think you said that you are just graduated from high school too, so you would understand just being a student in another country and no one is telling you when to study, what to do, but you still have to be able to have some self-discipline and to balance all these different things as you're becoming an adult in another country in college. Yeah. So I'm going to suggest following some of these basic suggestions or tips that I'll talk about today for keeping yourself focused on school, which is what legally you told the US government that you're doing in your visa interview while you're here in the US. while at the same time definitely making the most of your experience, making friends, joining clubs, and yeah, maybe going to a party or two while you're in college in the United States, right? I hope I'm telling you eventually everything you need to know. That's the goal. Yeah. If you come to the United States, that you will be prepared before you even get here. So I started advising international students in 2013 from all over the world, first with exchange students who came to the United States for just a semester or 1 year. Then I was an advisor for English students who came just to study English for 1 semester, 1 year, or before they were going to do their academic program. And then I was an advisor for sponsored students. So students mostly from the Gulf who were sponsored by their government or work. So some of my students struggled with the intensity of college classes in America, meaning how difficult the classes in college in the United States can be. And then other students did really well with it. So there were a few things I noticed about the students that did well in their classes and outside of their classes. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in again while I'm talking. So my first suggestion for, hello, welcome to the webinar, the conversation. Put your name and your country in the chat if you just joined. We're talking about some suggestions or tips on how to balance your schoolwork and fun activities outside of class while you're an international student in the United States. So my two biggest suggestions for keeping yourself on track for your classes is to keep a schedule or planner. A planner is what we call them in English. I'll type that in down here. Oh, shoot, I spelled that wrong. Planner. So hard to type and talk at the same time. A planner is what we call it in English. And then the second tip is not to procrastinate. So I'll talk about the first one, is setting a schedule or having a planner. So if you're doing a bachelor's degree in the United States, more than likely you will have to take a freshman introduction to college class. A planner, oh, good question. So a planner is like a notebook that has the days of the week in it, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and lines for you to write things on each day. So it's to stay organized and keep track of what you need to do. Wish I had an example, but it's just like a little notebook, but it has the days of the week on it, plus lines to write in. So anyway, if you're doing a bachelor's degree, then you will have to take an introduction to college class more than likely at your school. And in this class, you'll talk about how to study well, how to stay focused on studying, how to use resources on campus to help you pass your classes, like the library. And almost always in these introduction to college classes for freshmen, they'll tell you to use a planner. And ahlan wa sahlan, kif halik? Ish ismek, what is your name? Welcome, thank you for joining today. So we're talking about my first suggestion, using a planner, and I'll type the definition down here. A notebook with the days of the week and lines to write in things we need to do. Okay, so let's see, where were we? So anyway, so you'll take this freshman introduction to college class and they'll suggest that you use a planner. Zaid. Is that how you say it? Zaid? I think so. Ahlan wa sahlan ya Zaid. So, sorry, getting distracted. So when you're sitting in class and you have your planner in front of you, this notebook, and your teacher says, okay, you need to complete this homework assignment and it's due next Tuesday. Write what you have to do for homework in your planner for that day. And then next week, write the due date on Tuesday in your planner so you know when you need to complete it by. And of course, today they have digital versions of planners, like an app, a planner app that you can download on your phone, or you can use the calendar on your phone instead if you don't want to write things down. But for me, it was just helpful to write down what I had to do every day. And at the end of the day, after I went to all my classes, I can open my planner and see what homework assignments all my teachers gave me that day that I needed to do. Does that make sense? So if you have questions, of course, type those in. So moving on to my second suggestion for how to balance school and fun activities. That's just advice on how to stay organized and focused. And my second suggestion is not to procrastinate. So procrastinate means wait until the last second to complete something you need to do. So this can be like, for example, studying for a test or doing a homework assignment, waiting until the very last second, minute to do what you need to do for class or for your teacher or test. This can be kind of based on people's personalities. If you tend to procrastinate on things in general, like wait until the last second to do things. But academics in the United States can be very rigorous or challenging. And as an international student, procrastinating or waiting until the last minute to do your homework or study for a test can add a lot of stress to you for something that's already going to be more difficult for you as a foreigner. I'm not saying this to scare you, but it depends on your school and what you're studying also. Maybe an English class would be a little less difficult than like a biology or a math class or something. But waiting till the last second to do your schoolwork is never a good idea. And I'm going to give you an example. Something I saw that happened to many of my international students, my former students. So let's say Maria, for example, attends class. She knows the due dates for homework, essays, and presentations for class because teachers have to put this information in what's called a syllabus or a guide for the class. So I'll type that down here too. Syllabus is a guide for the class, and it has all of your due dates on it. So when you go to class on the first day of school, your teacher will give you a piece of paper called a syllabus, and the syllabus says, okay, on January 15th, homework 1 is due. On February 1st, we have a test. On February 20th, you have a presentation that you have to give to the class. So all students know what they have to do and what day it's due on, okay? So Maria attends class, she has her syllabus, and she knows when she has her homework, her essays, her tests, when she has to give a presentation to the class. But she goes to class, and after class, she plays sports, she hangs out with her friends, she goes to the gym, and then she finally gets home at 11 p.m. at night, and her homework is due the next day. She has to read 20 pages out of a book and write a one-page report on what she reads. However, Maria is still learning English, and it takes her twice as long, 2 times as long as an American student to read 20 pages and to write a report. Therefore, she has to stay up all night finishing her homework. Turns out she's not even sure if she follows the directions the next day, and she repeats this process throughout the semester until she's at the end of the semester and she's writing her big final project, her 10-page paper, the night before it's due, and she gives a bad presentation because she's so tired from staying up late over and over and over, and she can barely think. So I know this story might sound like an exaggeration or not what actually would happen to a student, but I think that international students especially underestimate the amount of time it may take them to complete class assignments, just simply because they are not a native English speaker. So go ahead and chat if you're following along or if you have any questions. So I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but it means that for international students specifically, you cannot wait until the last second to finish things, or the quality of your homework and presentations is probably going to suffer. And I have experienced this too in another country when I studied in Spain, and it took me 2, maybe 3 times longer than a Spaniard or a student from Spain to finish a homework assignment because Spanish was not my native language. So I had to read things over and over, translate them on my phone, translate words from Spanish to English to understand what they were saying. So it happens to all international students, but you need to know that it's going to take you longer than an American student most of the time to finish your homework, to write a report. I studied Spanish in Spain, in Alicante, Spain. It's on the Mediterranean Sea, on the beach. Very, very beautiful place. You've been there before. Near Marbella, I think Marbella is kind of a famous place. So anyway, I share that because I know that procrastinating is a difficult thing for even American students. I definitely had nights where I stayed up all night doing my homework and got 2 hours of sleep and turned in my homework the next day. So I just don't recommend doing this, or especially for international students, waiting too long, because it will take you longer than an American student to do your homework. So any questions؟ كيف أقوله بالعربي؟ أي سؤال؟ So, all right, so I'll move on to, that's my suggestions for studying and how to stay focused and balance with your schoolwork. So on the fun side of things, on fun activities, hanging out with friends, trying new things while you're an international student in the United States, it's important to remember that learning is not just going to happen inside of a classroom, but outside the classroom as well. So that's the beauty of studying abroad in another country. You come to the United States, you're learning a new language because it's all around you all the time. You're learning a new culture, the American culture, and you're learning about yourself because you have to figure out how to survive without your parents, without your friends and your family in a foreign country. So please, please find activities outside of class that interest you, like sports and clubs. In college, there's so many things to do outside of class. For example, when I was in college, I was in the International Student Association, which I wasn't even an international student. I just wanted to hang out with the international students at my college and university. I was in a French club because I like languages. Trying to think what else. I did some sports like volleyball and frisbee. So find activities, clubs, sports that you're interested in, and you can make friends that way outside of class, because it's a really good opportunity to practice your English, to learn about like the American college, university culture. Mohammed, Zaid, what are you guys interested in? The word in Arabic, like right? Right, like sah, I think you mean, maybe? Mohammed or Zaid, what do you guys like to do for fun outside of school? Anything? Okay, I think there might be a lag, but so if you want to type something like a hobby or things that you're interested in, and we can talk about that and how you can do that here in America if you're an international student. So there's all of these opportunities on campus at your college or university to do fun things outside of class that may take you away from studying. So I'm going to give you an example of when I was in graduate school and I had a lot of homework, a lot of studying, and at the same time, I was also in a lot of clubs and doing a lot of fun activities. So this is where you have to learn how to have more of a balance, just from one thing to the other. So I was involved in too many things outside of school. I was in clubs, French Club, International Student Association, and I worked also, which is another thing I don't recommend if you're a student, because you need to be focused on studying. But it is possible for international students to work on campus, only on campus, when they're in the United States, depending on what type of visa you have. So the F1 visa for students, you can work part-time at your college or university to make a little bit of money, help with your expenses while you live here. So if you're working and you're studying and doing extracurricular fun activities, you need to be able to balance all of that to still be able to have time to sleep, to exercise, keep yourself healthy, and just to have time for yourself to slow down, reflect on, I'm in the United States, what am I learning? And so I don't really have any specific tips here, but I just, as a former student, graduate student, studying can be very, very time consuming, a lot of time every day to study, and difficult. So join one or two clubs or a sports team and fit that into your schedule to balance, you know, taking a break from studying every once in a while and having social time with friends. So do either of you have any questions today about what it's like to balance fun and school and studying? The other thing that I kind of mentioned at the beginning is that social activities in college also can involve parties or social events with friends on the weekends, and that can be a very good thing, a fun thing, but don't go overboard, don't go crazy with the parties, or like more than a few times a week, maybe suggest. Okay, so what are your interests outside of school? Everything, yep, that's good. Everything is going well. Siad, do you have any interest in sports, maybe soccer? If both of you like to play soccer, for example, you can find a soccer team at your college or university. Soccer. Oh gosh, كيف أقول بالعربي? I forgot the word. So soccer, the sport soccer, you can find teams at your college or university to play soccer for fun. when you're not studying with other college students or even other international students. At my university, they had a soccer team for international students. So the international students played soccer against teams of American students. Okay, you like playing video games and watching Netflix. Those are definitely fun things to do to take a break from studying. I would suggest trying to find some activities that you can do outside of your room, Mohammed. So if you're an international student in the United States and you're in your dorm room or apartment, watching Netflix and playing video games may keep you in your room a lot, unless you invite people to come to your room and play video games with you or watch Netflix, then that can be fun too. But maybe look for activities you can do outside of your room, on campus. So, all right, so that's pretty much what I have for today. So just how to balance school and fun activities. My two biggest suggestions for schoolwork are to have a planner to stay organized with your homework assignments and tests and essays. Everything you have to do is stay very organized with a planner, write everything down and when it's due. Yeah, I think it's a good idea to have an activity outside of your room also to experience the United States. Does that make sense? So to practice your English with other people talking and do things where you're exploring whatever city that you live in or your college campus. So suggestions: have a planner to keep track. When you go to class, write down what your homework is for that day and when it's due. And to not procrastinate. Do not wait until the last minute or second to do your homework, because as an international student, it's going to take you a little longer than an American student to finish what you need to do. And then lastly, find sports clubs, activities that you can do on your college campus, but not too much, and don't work too much to where you don't have enough time for studying or you're staying up really, really late at night and not getting sleep, exercise, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, American football is a very, very common sport here in the United States. And if you go to a bigger college or university, then your school may have a college football team that you can go to the games and watch them play, other colleges in the country. So that's another activity you can do outside of class, is go and watch sports games at your school, like college football or soccer or volleyball. In the US, we call football soccer, and then American football is the one you throw with your hand. Yeah. So that's something you can do at most colleges or universities. Some don't have teams, but a lot of them do. Okay, so any other questions or anything? Shukran jiddan for joining me today. And as always, I have all this information plus a lot more in my online course, How to Study in the US, my free course, How to Choose a School in the United States, and then my one-on-one advising. It's like this with me. If you want an advisor in the United States to help you just one-on-one in your specific situation to help you get to the United States to study, then I have that option as well. And I will put all those links in the description of this live chat, and you can comment on the video below if you're watching it later, and I'll answer any questions or concerns. Teach ball from your hand. Yeah, American football is with a ball in your hand. Soccer is where you kick a ball with your foot. That's the words that we use in the United States for those sports. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining. Happy Friday. يوم الجمعة سعيد وشكرا جدا لكم, and I'll see you next Friday.